Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Lovers group here on Patreon. And within this video today, we're going to talk about sacred partnerships. Okay, so if you are in a partnership now and you're kind of feeling down and negative about it and you're even questioning it, I'm going to say, okay, stop right now. We need to go a few steps back and really talk about discovering the blocks, discovering your self-love. In this video, this is for somebody who has kind of already gone through the self-love and they see their worth and they're not in a relationship that brings them down. So maybe you're in a relationship now and you're wondering, is this a sacred partnership? Or if you are maybe single and you really want to invite that sacred partnership into your life, then this is the video for you. So I know a lot of people might think that the twin flame journey or this ascended soul journey, that it can be lonely. A lot of people have discovered that the relationships that they were once in are not the relationships for them. But I do have to tell you that there is a relationship out there for you, and it can be a very healthy type of relationship. I like to call it a sacred partnership. Some people call it a twin flame or a soul connected partnership. And in this relationship, it's two people who have already done the work. It normally isn't two people who are in a really negative place. And I'll explain to you clear signs that you are in a sacred partnership. Now, if this is something that you desire, then knowing these signs are really important when you are presented with new relationships in your future. Now, first and foremost, before I start this, I have to tell you that I've told you in past videos that we attract our own trauma. So if you are not healed up until this point, you are not on this healing path, then you are still going to start to attract karmic relationships. So if you're wondering why you're still attracting the same type of people, we got to do a little bit more work on ourselves. We got to take a few steps back. But if that's not you, if you feel like you've been on this journey and that you're full of love for yourself and you're just ready to invite another person into your life, this is the video for you. So the very first sign that you are in a sacred partner relationship, or the trait that you are desiring out of another partner, is for someone to come into your life that wants nothing but total and complete happiness for you, and you want nothing but total and complete happiness for this other person. And I know what you're saying, well, of course that's what we want, but we have to remember that we would want this on a specific level of love and compassion, where if this person chose to be with another individual or chose to be by themselves, that we would be just as happy for them. There wouldn't be a heartache or a heartbreak. We are supportive of this individual's desires and their loves and their passions, whether it's with us or without us. So this is the very first sign that you have a sacred partner in your vicinity, in your relationship. It could also be a friendship. This could start on a friendship level where you just have a person that you know, and you've never really had negative or bad feelings. You've wished nothing but good for this person. It didn't really bother you if they got in other relationships. You may have gotten other relationships, but that person was still kind of always there, and you had that kind of deep, like, silent love for that person, or you always wanted the best for that person no matter what. So that is the first sign that we are in a sacred partnership, or the first sign that we want a sacred partnership. So if we want to attract that, then we have to give ourselves total and complete love and self-acceptance so that we can know what it feels like, and we can give that total love and self-acceptance or acceptance for that other person, no matter who they are, what they want, to give that acceptance to another individual. And number two that I like to talk about is masks falling in the relationship. Our masks fall. It's almost like being totally and completely emotionally naked in front of our other half. This means that we express our thoughts, our feelings, good or bad, even if it's just according to society, good or bad. If you have emotional needs, if you have thoughts that you're afraid to tell your partner because you think they'll respond negatively, and you don't say anything to them, this is not a sacred partnership. You're still kind of hindered by the idea of not believing in your true self or having the confidence of your true self, okay? So in a sacred partnership, all masks fall, okay? This is no lies, no stories, no strategy in speaking, okay? Because we don't want the other person to feel bad, or we want to hide something from them. And this includes everything from Say you go to coffee with a friend and you start talking about your partner. Okay, you talk to your friend about your partner and then you go home and you don't mention anything about that. That is technically withholding or lying information that needs to be expressed to the partner. So even if I had, for example, I've even come out to my husband and said, I don't feel like we should be married. And it has nothing to do with my feelings for you. I just feel like the stigma or the idea of marriage is really constricting somehow. Like I feel like I got into it for the wrong reason, or I signed that paper for the wrong reason, or whatever it means. And I can't worry that he's going to run off and not want to be with me or get upset or pissed or whatever, because that is my truth. So in a sacred relationship, your truth is always present. If you start to hide one thing from your partner, it will go backward. Number 3, personal sovereignty. Okay, this means that two individuals are coming to the relationship with their love cups completely full. They have both done the work of self-love and confidence and worthiness, and they are both coming to the relationship with personal sovereignty. Okay, they are two individuals who do not need each other. Okay, so I'll go over this in another video even more, but there's a difference between codependent relationships and interdependent relationships, okay? So two people can decide to create a life together, create a relationship together, but they're very much so aware that they are their own personal individual beings. They're very aware of the projecting of trauma. They're very aware that if they come to someone with a problem or an insult, then that is a direct reflection of something they have to heal within themselves. If they get triggered by something their significant other said that wasn't meant to hurt them, they know that that is work they have to do within themselves. So there's this idea of being very independent but together. Now, codependency is like you're relying on the other person to give you the affection. You're relying on the other person to bring home the money. You are relying on the other person to boost your confidence, or to say I love you, or to show their love for you. You rely on the individual in an emotional way, in a physical way. Okay, so codependent and interdependent are completely different. Somebody who is interdependent has boundaries, and those boundaries are always present. It's almost like two bubbles, okay? You have your boundaries, this person understands your boundaries, and they don't break your boundaries. They don't test your boundaries. They are very much so respectful of your boundaries, and they don't get upset knowing that you have boundaries. You are very much so easily able to put up boundaries because the other person respects it, and they have their personal boundaries as well. Okay, so if both partners do not have boundaries, then it's very much so possibly a codependent relationship, all right? Just for a little clarity, like interdependent relationship, you can rely on the other person. Rely on the other person's word, something that they've said. Rely on them to always speak their truth and tell you the truth. Okay, but you're not dependent on them to do things to make your life easier. You're not dependent on them to do things to make you feel more love. Okay, so there is a big difference, and like I said, I'll go into elaboration on another video. Another sign that you are in a sacred partnership is if you've met someone and you feel like on a soul level that you've known them from another existence. You feel that their energy feels familiar. You might go back in time and you might talk about how you might know each other, but energetically it's on a soul level. From my understanding is when souls are born into the world, like in clusters, let's say, you and your sacred partner feel the connection or the draw to one another based on the fact that you've come from the same soul pod. You've come from the same idealistics of having a similar soul mission. Because when you come here on earth, and everybody has their own soul mission, but for two sacred partners to meet, that means that they are now walking through life with their own soul mission, but they have joined forces and kind of created this extra energy around them that is its own force, that is its own energy. And the reason that can happen is because of everything I've already previously talked about, okay? The fact that there's no codependency, the fact that you've taken your masks down and you've been really raw and truthful and you've spoken your truth, and you have personal sovereignty. This is the reason that you can be so close to one another in a sacred partnership, is because you're not hiding anything. You can be vulnerable with the other person. You can be desirable. You can be sexual with that partner and really have nothing to hide at all. You have no blocks in your throat chakra. You're speaking your truth about what you want, what you don't want. And there's no hard feelings about what it's going to make the other person feel. It's just mutual respect. So when these energies of a sacred partner come together, there's often things that happen in society that either change the way people think, they attract certain people, or they might start to attract couples that need healing in that way. They might start a nonprofit and create this energy that's created with them. It's meant for something bigger. So a lot of sacred partnerships start nonprofits. And I didn't know this at first, but when I had met my twin flame, my sacred partner, within the first couple months, we started a nonprofit. And we had been working on that for 2 or 3 years. And I didn't know that this was a thing that happens with sacred partners until recently, when I was doing a lot more research and saw the trends where people were saying that in interviews. So just for the fact that when you get together, you understand that you have a purpose, but now that you're together and that you've created this new energy, now there's a new mission, that there's a mission that you are supposed to do together that will ultimately change the world. So the last thing I'm going to talk about in this sacred kind of partnership is when you meet this person. I talked about this third energy, okay? But this third energy has a sense of a combined mission, okay? You two feel that you were meant to meet each other to change the world somehow, whether it has to do with societal structures, families, whatever it is. Maybe one of you were married beforehand and you decided to get a divorce and to be with another person. Maybe there was a social stigma that you had to kind of break through in order to show the world that it's possible to follow your heart, things like that. So I will say that sacred partnerships are not relatively easy. They don't just fall into your lap very easily. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but then when it happens, it's boom, wow, I never realized that a relationship could be bigger than me. I never realized that a purpose could be bigger than us. And it's almost like this idea of a mission together creates even more of the bond. And what happens over time with you and a sacred partner, if all of these things are staying constant, okay, and you guys are growing energetically, raising your vibrations together, what happens is your energies, your auras start to mesh. Okay, you start to communicate telepathically. You start to have intertwined dreams. You start to help each other heal on deep levels, very, very deep levels that society may not even think is important. All right. So that's just a little tidbit, a little snippet of what I feel is important in sacred partners, or what ideally we are looking for in life. We are looking for relationships that are easy, that are meaningful, that are raw, that are vulnerable, that are passionate, that are sexual, that are expressive, and that are confident and accepting, right? But in order to find that, we have to do all of that for ourselves first, because a majority of the time, the relationships that you've been in before the sacred partnership comes into your life is based on trauma healing. Okay, so when you find this relationship, it's going to catapult you to an entirely new way of thinking about life and thinking about love. Good luck on your journey.